The latest. Thank you for your love and support. I appreciate you all. Our all in all, the Savior, the Protector, the Unifier, the Messiah, the King of Kings, the most loved. General Abdurrahmani Chiani gave us amazing reason to always be proud of as Africans. Africans, we said we are independent. Every year we celebrate our independence. Yet, we are never independent because we still have things that are named after the oppressor. Yellow Popo still controls everything that has to do with the African. Mohamed Bazoum was taken out of office by our all in all because according to him, we need to be free. And this man who was the president of Niger was always dining with the oppressor, doing everything possible to make sure that Yellow Popo is always happy and not with the citizens. So Abdurrahmani Chiani said, in this 21st century, we can never continue to be slaves. So we need freedom. So he has to take power to give us the freedom that we, the Africans, we are looking for. And when he took office, we saw that he has to do away with the French troops and all the foreign bases that were in Niger. They have to go. Just like Mali and Burkina Faso. After that, he said, how can we still be here saying we are independent, yet we are speaking somebody's language and our own language is somewhere sleeping? It is not going to be possible now. If truly we said we are independent, we have to show our independence. It's not about how we go and parade ourselves and be singing our songs and marching and wasting money doing nothing, and all we say is Independence Day, and at the end of the day we'll go and sleep. We have to put in practical things in order that will show that we, the Africans, are truly independent. And that is exactly what our all in all did. That we still sit here and we are speaking somebody else's language. For what reason? This colonial language called French must go somewhere and sleep. We'll have an African language called the Hausa. President Abdurrahmani Chiani Kari Sandeachi.
As General Abdurrahmani Chiani isn't playing games. Just days after his March 26, 2025 inauguration as transitional president for the next 5 years, he's dropped a bombshell. Hausa is now Niger's national language, kicking French to the curb in a fearless rejection of colonial chains. This is no timid step. It's a giant leap toward liberation, echoing Burkina Faso's Captain Ibrahim Traoré and Mali's Colonel Assimi Goïta. Since seizing power in July 2023, Chiani has axed ties with Paris, booted French troops and erased their names from our streets. Now, with Hausa enthroned, he's showing every African leader what real freedom looks like. Mark my words, this is not just Niger's victory, it's Africa's triumph. In a new charter, published on March 31st, 2025, in a special edition of the government's official journal, Chiani made it plain. The national language is Hausa, while the working languages are English and French. Do you hear that? French, once the imposed voice of our subjugation, has been demoted to a mere tool, a secondary whisper in the halls of a nation reclaiming its identity. Hausa, spoken by millions across West Africa, a language that resonates with the heartbeat of the people, now takes its rightful place as the soul of Niger's sovereignty. This is what liberation looks like, smells like, feels like, a rejection of the master's tongue and an embrace of our own. General Chiani, much like Burkina Faso's fearless Captain Ibrahim Traoré, is showing us that true independence begins with the courage to speak our truth in our own words. Since that fateful day in July 2023, when Chiani and his junta ousted the civilian president Mohamed Bazoum, a man too cozy with Paris for the liking of any self-respecting Nigerian, the military leader has been on a relentless mission to uproot every vestige of French domination. Diplomatic ties with France, severed. French troops, those lingering shadows of colonial arrogance, expelled from Niger's sacred soil. Streets and landmarks once stained with French names, renamed to honor Niger's heroes and heritage. And now, the ultimate act of defiance, stripping French of its linguistic throne and crowning Hausa in its place. This is not a gradual retreat from colonialism. This is a full-on revolution, a blazing fire that consumes the old order and births a new Niger, proud and unbowed. But Niger does not stand alone in this fight. Look to its neighbours Mali and Burkina Faso, two other Sahel giants, who have also cast off the yoke of their former colonial overlord. Under their own military regimes, led by Colonel Assimi Goïta in Mali and Captain Ibrahim Traoré in Burkina Faso, these nations have mirrored Niger's audacity. They've expelled French forces, turned their backs on the Organisation Internationale de la Francophonie, OIF, that hollow echo of colonial nostalgia, and forged a new path rooted in African unity and self-reliance. Together, Niger, Mali and Burkina Faso have formed the Alliance of Sahel States, AES, a brotherhood of nations that dares to defy the West and chart its own destiny. This is no coincidence, my people. This is a movement, a tidal wave of awakening that is exposing France for what it truly is, a fading power clinging desperately to the crumbs of its past glory. Why must every African leader follow this example? Because to do otherwise is to remain a slave, plain and simple. For too long, we've allowed our minds, our tongues, our very souls to be colonized by languages and systems that were never ours. French, English, Portuguese, these are not just words. They are chains, tools of domination that keep us tethered to a history of exploitation. When General Chiani declares Hausa the national language, he's not just changing a policy, he's reclaiming Niger's identity, its dignity, its right to exist on its own terms. Every African leader must do the same. Elevate our languages, Swahili, Yoruba, Amharic, Zulu, Wolof, Twi, Arabic, and countless others to the forefront of our nation's lives. Why should we beg for validation in the languages of those who plundered our lands, enslaved our ancestors, and still exploit our resources? The Sahel states are showing us that we don't need Paris, London, or Washington to define who we are. We are Africans, and our voices must ring out in the languages of our forefathers. Let's talk about why this matters beyond symbolism. Language is power. It shapes thought, culture, and governance. When Niger adopts Hausa, it's not just a cultural flex, it's a practical step toward inclusivity and unity. Hausa is spoken by over 80 million people across West Africa, a lingua franca that transcends borders and binds communities. By making it the national language, Chiani is ensuring that every Nigerian, especially the rural masses who were sidelined by French elitism, can participate fully in the nation's political and social life. This is governance for the people, not for a Western-educated clique sipping coffee in Parisian-style cafes, while the rest of the country languishes. Mali and Burkina Faso are doing the same, prioritizing their own languages and traditions over the imposed norms of a foreign power. This is how you build a nation, by rooting it in the soil of its own culture, not in the shadow of a colonial master. And oh, how the Sahel states are exposing France. For decades, France has masqueraded as a benevolent partner to its former colonies, all while tightening its economic and military grip through mechanisms like the CFA franc and Operation Barkhane. But Niger, Mali and Burkina Faso have ripped off the mask. By kicking out French troops, 1,500 from Niger alone, and rejecting the Francophonie, they've shown the world that France's presence in Africa was never about partnership. It was about control. The AES nations have turned to Russia and other allies, not out of desperation, but out of strategy, proving that Africa can choose its own friends, its own path. France's humiliation is palpable, its embassy in Niamey shuttered, its uranium interests threatened, its influence crumbling. This is what happens when Africans stand up and say, enough! The Sahel is revealing to every African that we don't need France or any Western power to survive. We can stand on our own, and we will. Since taking power, General Chiani has been a man possessed, revolutionizing Niger at a pace that leaves no doubt about his commitment to his people. He's not just talking liberation, he's living it. Under his watch, Niger has slashed its 2023 budget by 40% to weather sanctions from ECOWAS and the West, showing resilience in the face of economic sabotage. He's renegotiated resource deals, like revoking the license of the French company Orano to exploit Niger's uranium, ensuring that the nation's wealth benefits Nigerians first. Streets once named after French generals now bear the names of Niger's own heroes, a daily reminder to every citizen that their history matters. And now, with Hausa as the national language, Chiani is cementing a cultural revolution that will echo for generations. This is a leader who understands that true freedom isn't just political, it's economic, cultural and spiritual. If you're not doing what Chiani, Traore and Goita are doing, you're still a slave to the old order, bowing to powers that see you as nothing more than a pawn. Let me paint a picture for you, my brothers and sisters. Imagine an Africa where every nation follows the Sahel's lead, where Kiswahili reigns in East Africa, where Yoruba and Igbo define Nigeria's future, where Tigrinya and Oromo shape Ethiopia's destiny. Imagine parliaments debating in our languages, schools teaching our children in tongues they already know, economies thriving because we've stopped begging for crumbs from the West and started building with our own hands. That's the Africa the Sahel states are fighting for. And it's the Africa we must all demand. Niger, Mali and Burkina Faso are not just rejecting France, they're rejecting the entire colonial playbook. They're showing us that Africa can stand tall, that we don't need to kneel before anyone to prosper. Every coup, every expulsion, every bold declaration like Chiani's is a brick in the foundation of a new Africa.
Yes, that we have to speak the Hausa language. Use it as the official language. We have to decolonize ourselves, like we always say, decolonize the mentality. We cannot continue to be having our streets named after these people who came and colonized us, and we are still worshipping these people. We have streets named after the colonizer. For what reason? These names have to go away for us to have our freedom fighters who rose up and did everything possible to give us the freedom. But in Africa, especially with the democratic elected, what they are doing best is making sure that everything that is named after those who rose up and gave us our freedom are being taken out. Like when you go to a place called G, that's what they are doing best. Making sure that those who wrote and fought for our freedom, their names are off. And we will continue to be uplifting the colonizer. That is not going to happen anymore in Niger. We have to prove to these people that we are looking for true independence. And if truly we want to be independent and want to show the world that we are independent, we have to take control over everything that belongs to us, including the language. We can't even, gluma small cry, everything they know. Everything that we want to do, these people have the first-hand information. These people make sure that we cannot even take decisions outside of them, because whatsoever that we will do, it must always be in the language that they understand. This one is showing those democratic elected ones what true independence is all about. It's not about how we go and stand and parade ourselves and be marching and people are dying in the hospitals when we can equally use that money to get them best, like John Magufuli did some years back when people, about 73 or 4 people had cholera, and he did. That we can continue to be parading and wasting the money when people do not have hospital beds to lie on. But these democratic elected ones will continue to be standing there parading and sharing the money, and then they come and tell us we have independence. We don't have independence. Where have we ever gotten independence? Independence, and you are using somebody else's language, following their systems. They still dictate to us what we should do and what we should not do. They still have upper hand on our mineral resources. That is not what we call true independence. True independence is when you are able to take control over your language, over your mineral resources, over your name, your culture, your education, your religion. Africa, everywhere we go, we are the only ones that are practicing and holding on to people's things. Everybody is holding on to his or her thing, but the African is always holding on to people's things. So Africa is still not independent. These ones are doing everything possible to be dining with the oppressors. But these ones are doing everything possible to move away from the oppressor to give us the freedom and the power that we deserve as Africans. And that is the difference between the democratic elected ones and these ones that are our heroes. These people are showing them the difference between leadership and freedom. Because hadn't been them, we wouldn't even know that we are not free. Looking at everything that we are going through in Africa, we thought we had the freedom, but now we know that we are not free and we are not independent. And that is the reason to which we are not developing. And truly, if we want to move forward as a people, We need to break forth from all these colonial chains and systems that these people have used to cripple the African for a very long time for their own benefit. Africa, we need to stand up, fight, defend, and protect the continent and support all our leaders who are doing everything possible to give us the freedom that we are looking for. United we stand, divided we fall, and united we keep standing forever and ever. The greatest enemy of the African is mental slavery. So let's decolonize ourselves from mental slavery. Let's keep sharing to educate our brothers and sisters. Together we make Africa great for ourselves and the next generations that are going to come. So that's the latest around the world, in Africa, West Africa, and in Niger.